know you've been expecting me on this great day. But by the way, here I had some conflict just now. I put on my glasses and I wasn't seeing because it was so dirty. And you just have to keep it clean in order to see. So I found it interesting that I couldn't see properly because it was dirty. And I think that's what we are about to talk about. When things are not as clean, it's not as clear. And so we want to continue talking about this thing about win-win, working out the differences, it's your conflict. Like I had this conflict here not seeing because it was real dirty. I do have a problem trying to clean my glasses. Sometimes 3 days gone. So you understand, some of us 3 days gone and we still didn't clean up anything. But nevertheless, here am I. Ah, there you are. Are you seeing me? I am still having some problems here. But it is interesting to note how we do need to pay attention to these. Because even if it's cloudy, it really does not work well. Alas. Yes. So here am I, working on this issue of conflict, trying to see through these glasses, but seeing opaquely because it's dirty. And some of us trying to work out relationships with each other, not realizing that there is some opaqueness also. So I really want to encourage you that we have to learn how to work out these differences and to come into terms with how we can channel our energies and our conversations to realize the difference, to realize the change, and to realize the camaraderie, and to realize the unity within the home. Now, last broadcast we were talking about children, a bit about how we relate to them and how we relate to the differences in terms of behaviors. But today I want to talk about parent to parent or adult to adult, and to see how we can bring some balance here in terms of the win-win. Now, each of us would have come out of a different environment, what we call different socialized behavior, and we come into that thing called marriage. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Into that beautiful institution called marriage. But we come with our baskets full with all kinds of issues and things and idiosyncrasies and hurts and peeves that we would have encountered over the many years before this marriage day. And yet when we get up on the morning after the wedding, we are on honeymoons for some of us, or we are just coming into this relationship, and all of a sudden we realize, hey, who are you? Why are you doing so? And why are you doing? And you didn't used to do that before. But within a year, we want to make each other feel that we were not the same person that we should have been, because we started off here and you changed. But I want to let you know that change is inevitable. We need to appreciate the change. We need to appreciate the fact that we are not just coming into a marriage to be the same. I remember saying that, hey, the trees are growing. The environment is changing. Why should I be the same person you married? No, I can't be the same person. I want to be changing every day. And to do that, we have to keep overcoming the negativities that we encounter at all times. So that it's important for us to realize that let's start with our cultures, the traditions of the family of origin. And you've heard me use this term before, but it's important to know how we have inculcated these things. We have not just learned it, but it has become part of our very DNA now. So that when something is different from, how do I work that? One of the things that we need to look at within the issue of parenting, that it is that the other party and the adult would have its own interpretation of, let's say, one particular subject. And let's talk about maybe discipline. It's the way my mommy and daddy did it is different to how your mommy and my daddy did it. But when we come together, we are struggling to find, which mommy and daddy should be used, yours or mine, because the child needs discipline, and there's a conflict right there. So we need to sit down and collaborate and understand that yes, my mommy and daddy did this way and yours did it that way, but what are we going to do? And that is where we need to know our child. That's where we need to participate in who our child is and come to the terms in working out that child together. It's important also to realize that this context is not just about discipline, but basically for some of us, it's about maybe sports. Which sport you want for the child? I like this sport. This sport is too dangerous. This one is easy. This interest is easier. Maybe piano. No, piano is for maybe. You might think that piano is more feminine than maybe what a masculine thing for your son. And we have all these gender issues, that comes into the whole decision making for the child's extracurricular activities, or the child's interests. And we want to make sure that, again, it's about not us. So we're realizing here that a lot of the conflict that is happening within the home is about decision making for the children and also for ourselves. What I like, what I don't like. I like to go out, I'm not going out. I like to stay home. Do I leave you home? No, we're going. So again, it's about decision making, and so it's important for us to grasp those concepts very early and to sit down and have the conversations. What are your interests? What would you like me to do? How would you like me to do it? Could I join you? Could I not join you? Could I let you go alone? These are important questions to be asked as we go into that win-win, because we don't want the win-lose or the lose-win. We want to be able to have that kind of congeniality, that kind of camaraderie, that kind of amicable behaviors and personalities within the home. So it is important to note that when we are talking about this win-win, it's basically, I reiterate, it's basically about what? Decision making. What's next for whom? Is it myself? Is it the child, the children? And also in terms of the child's social life, where the child goes to play, who is the child's friends? Who are your friends? Don't bring that guy in my house again. That's my friend. Before I was married, he was my friend. Fine, but I hold on. Let's sit and talk. Because there is a decision that you have to make that is going to take you further into your days. So we have these conflicting positions of how we are going to do what's next, how we're going to interpret our cultures, how we're going to interpret our traditions. I remember one of the things that we have that I've always discovered when I'm doing premarital counseling, and we're chatting about the traditions. Christmas, I have a custom going by auntie. This Christmas I go with my granny. And so that when you get married now, where are you going? A decision again, because that is conflict. You see me, I have custom all these years. We just go downhill. All these, excuse me. We have to define where we are going now as Mr. and Mrs. as the couple that we are now in our own home, within our own circle, establishing our own ground rules. We are to establish that, because the traditions of birthdays and anniversaries and Christmas and Easter, all these things that each of you had individually, we now have to work out a methodology of how we're going to implement and to satisfy our relatives. And that's the next part of the equation. Relatives, starting off with grandparents, aunties and uncles. Oh, this is my grandchild, this is my nephew. And we want to do what we want to do. No, remember, we have to keep letting them know. The advocacy is always real. These are my children. Now, if you say it too loudly, they will say, so I can't talk to them. No, it's not that you can't talk to them. But remember, we are developing a methodology of behavior and discipline within our home that you are coming to challenge without even talking to us. So again, there's a little conflict. Again, another decision. Because after that first issue, you may not want to send the children by granny again, where you don't even want granny to come and see the children because you don't know what granny will say. And further, what granny will give and what granddad will do. So we have to again realize and repeat decision making, how it's going to affect tomorrow, how it's going to affect those changing dynamics in terms of developing this new family that has now come out of the FO, the family of origin, and be establishing itself for its own tomorrow. So we are learning to see what auntie and uncle, who would have represented either of your past cultures and past Am I too bold to say that? Because sometimes it's maybe still present. Okay, that which you represented before the union, that which you represented before you committed yourself to each other, there are still these reflections coming out of aunties and uncles and cousins. And so that everybody wants to do what they would like to do with you or with each other. You know, we always had a girls' night. We sisters had so excuse me, darling. But that night, I would like to take you out. Not that night. Let me tell you, it's not that. But how can it be so sacred in one's eyes if you have now given yourself sacrificially? Oh my God, am I saying these things wrong tonight? Oh my gosh, am I saying these things wrong? Oh Lord. Like, should I say sacrificially or committedly to your partner? Because I use the word sacrifice because, you see, when we talk about love, we are talking about sacrifice. We talk about giving, you know, we're laying down our lives for each other. And so it's important, if I'm laying down my life for you as a mate, how am I to now wrangle with the fact that I used to be in a particular space, doing a particular thing. Now I have to learn to how to work that. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but we have to collaborate. We have to come to the place where we are making decisions. It's important for you to know that. It's important for you to understand this. It's important for you to establish that kind of camaraderie that takes you further into where you're going. Now, we must, and there's a lot of conversation about relatives and the new family that is being established, and how we are to give honor to elders and to give honor. But we see in doing that, we are still struggling with compromising our own belief systems. And we also have problems defining those belief systems that helps us to make these proper decisions that gives the win-win within the family. When it comes up beyond the relatives and we come into public space, that's another issue. The public space, how are we going to establish what Mr. Neighbor says? The neighbor says, I bring this for your child. We do not eat that. We do not serve that. What? You're denying the child? No, we're not denying the child anymore. It's just that we have decided that we are not going to be giving the child particular kinds of foods because we are looking at nutrients, nutritional values. We are looking at the kind of input within the child's activities and sugar levels and energy levels and brain matter. We have a whole list. And neighbor is not asking, what are you giving your child, or what do you do? I invited the child to go with me to go. Excuse me, where are we going? We have not discussed whether that is that's appropriate. So that we again need to sit down. And you realize how I'm broadening this thing out. It's not just about the home, it's about the relatives, it's about the public. The public is part of the whole community that nurtures and develops. The village is raising the child, and the village is part, even though the village has become a little more technological in terms of social media, but it's still out there looking to see how it advances for tomorrow. So we have to look at the practice of what practices are you going to establish as a means of making those decisions. So the practice informs the decision, or the decision informs the practice. But the decision informs the practice. Sometimes the practice will make the decision. So we have to be very mindful of how we are interpreting what is necessary for us to carry and to go further within our relationship as a family. It's important for us to see how the collaboration is important, the dialogue is important, and that kind of dialogue is to be an honest dialogue, which is importantly related both to the two parents plus the children, and also in mind of what the custom used to be. How are we going to redefine where we go on a Christmas Day, on a Boxing Day, on a New Year's Day, on a Easter? What is the implications of not going as to go? And how do we let our children know that this is not a matter of us just pulling away, withdrawing from our family of origin, from granny, but we are deciding as a family that this is how we need to do it. So maybe you could do it this year, this next year, whatever you want to do. It's important for you to work this through. What is Dr. Niles saying today? This is all part of eliminating family conflict. Because This is all part of eliminating those struggles within your own heart about how you are continuing as a member of not just the present, but the past. Because in my language, I might say that where I used to live, they become my relatives, but they're still mommy and daddy. But see, do I say that this is my family now, where I live with my own spouse and my own children? But some people would use the word family extensively in terms of bringing in the cousins and the daddies and the mummies and the grannies and everybody else, and we have this big, large family. And of course, all Movie Town has really, or should I say the movie world, has really encouraged to think that way. But again, when it comes down to this other word, discipline, how do you work that? Ah, yes. How do you work that? How do you work that word discipline? Because to bring that discipline in the home, where people, the children and yourselves, are now abiding with the decisions, how do we do that? How do we get you to fall in line with these new concepts and new principles, new philosophies, and not feel that we are bringing division from the whole, and as the whole meaning, that backdrop of the family of origin with all its implications of aunts and uncles and all these other titles that we have there. But we have to learn that it's important for us to have these decisions to establish the procedure and the whole activities of how we are living and what we do when we do. Because when we do not do what we ought to do, what we have said, we see a breach, and we say that the child is indisciplined, and we now have to discipline the child. So how do you determine flogging? How do you determine naughty corner? How do you determine other kinds of removal from privileges and priorities, in order to establish some kind of cognition in terms of making sure that you know what we believe in this house? If you do it any other way, we have to see it is not about imputing that kind of aggression and that type of force to make the child work with what you have now said. Remember that before you made a decision, or while you make a decision, there was the liberal context of going and coming. Granny will come, and you still make a decision about what to do. When you did find the child's already having his brain what to do, so they're doing something else. They have to be reminded. Last week you did this with Granny, but Daddy and Mommy have sat down and decided that it should not be a practice anymore. We have to communicate those activities. We have to communicate those new concepts. We have to communicate those new ideals as we go along. Otherwise, we are not going to have that win-win context. So it's important for us to understand that as we have these disciplines and we are disciplining our children, we are going to discipline. Of course, there's going to always be rewards. How do you reward them? Is it possible? Do you need to reward them? But you see, when one has that memory and one is working with the philosophies and the concept of home, it is important to encourage by a reward. Now, the reward may not be monetary. The reward may be an access. The reward may be a compliment, the reward, a commendation. But there's some way you to encourage not just that the child is doing it right, but the child is remembering and re-identifying cultures and structures to come into place with where we're going. So we want to look at this issue of discipline and rewards. And we, of course, within that context, we talk about punishment too. So that we have to make sure that when you are working the family context and looking at where daddy and mommy came from, where we are looking at the parenting concepts coming through and looking at how do we work that out. Remember when we started off, I had my glasses, I was cleaning because it was spotty, and it was spotty for days, but I was cleaning, and then I didn't clean too well, I had to clean again. So that sometimes when you feel it's all done, look through the lens again. Look through the lens and realize that you need to keep cleaning, so that we may need to go back to the drawing board sometimes and say, okay, all right, we discussed this last week. we made a decision about what we should do, but we have reconsidered because we realize that there is not the kind of alacrity maybe, or the kind of support, or you are not remembering that we need to do it differently. So we want to tweak some of the issues, and we want to present to you that this is how we're going to do it, which may be easier for the child to work out that particular discipline, so that the punishment becomes less and the rewards become more. So the child does not feel that he or she is always breaking a rule or being afraid to say because I won't get licked or I get punished. No, we have to learn how to reconsider as we continue in our ways that what we had said yesterday is different from today, and we can make that differently, and we can do that differently. So again, it comes down to collaboration between the parents, and it also comes down to that place where we are making decisions. Now, decisions are, you realize from what I'm saying, are not meant to be cast in concrete, because we are living souls. We are flexible. We are affected outside of the home by a lot of societal, economic, financial, environmental issues, political issues, and when we come in the home, we are affected by certain rules out there that we now have to change. Even in the home, because of the socio-economic issues, financial, we can't buy this, we didn't buy bread, we didn't buy the lollipop, there's no soccer bag here. For those of you outside of the Caribbean, it's when you put a juice or fruity juice into a plastic bag and tie it, and you freeze it, and that child sucks all the liquid out and enjoys that. We call it soccer. It's like another version of a popsicle, but not on a stick, but the juice. So we again, here Mike explaining. So you wouldn't want to know what is that. So again, like when we are in our homes, sometimes we use terms and we say things to the children. We have to keep explaining. We have to keep teaching them what's going on here, what it is all about. So I'm suggesting here that it is not bad, parents, to revise or to refresh your disciplines, your patterns, your established ways. I don't want to call them the R word. Your directives. We want to make sure that you're able to be sensitive to what is necessary for that win-win context, for that kind of group, to keep the body together, to keep the family united, to keep the family really flexible and sensitive to growth, and to realize that, hey, we are enjoying. Now, don't try to avoid or avert the negativity. It's there. It's part of life. We go out on the road and we see traffic lights, we see potholes, there's always something to it. And we can always react, no, don't argue about that. The child comes on duty, the child doesn't do this, the husband doesn't do that, you forget to close the door, you didn't say where it's going. Hold on. Let's remind each other of the systems that we have established and how we go to work them. If there's a struggle, as I said before, let's refresh, let's reflect, let's bring them into new context and new understanding, so that we are constantly abreast and we are working with each other. You see, it's all about keeping that smile. It's all about keeping the glasses clean. It's all about constantly, every day, taking that cloth and taking that spray or to wash it with soap water and keeping it clean, because we want to see through things. It's not about saying that's how it is. No, it's going to have dust from the environment. It's going to have a little grease from your hand. It's going to have some steam from the pot that where you're cooking. So we have to keep cleaning. So that is the whole point of working out today, as we continue to refresh and to re-examine the systems, the regulations, the philosophies that we have in our homes, the regulations, the things that we liked. Let me say it. Don't use the word rules. They have rules in school. They have rules in traffic. Outside, there will be traffic business. At home, use a nicer word that helps them to see that we are going forward. So I trust that today helps you to really bring out that freshness and that continuum. So within your own family, the broader one of relatives or families, and public, learn to collaborate. Keep reiterating. Keep refreshing. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy tomorrow. So Dr. Niles sign off today, saying thank you for pressing that play and listening. And of course, every Monday you can find me right here with a fresh new talk. But of course, you could always go back and press replay, play again, and hear me. But it's great to be here in your space, and I'm going to make sure that my glass is still clean. Yes. No air came out, but I do have my cloth here. Oh, do you see it match? Yes. So please enjoy your rest of the week and enjoy your family. Remember, we are all one as a family together, and we love each other. We will lay down our lives. Let's keep at it. Let's keep the win-win. Let's keep the prospering. God bless you.